Every day, thousands of businesses are open in the United States. Unfortunately, a larger number are closed because of poor organizational leadership. Many problems in organizational leaderships are caused because of a lack of sensory perception, I call it. In other words, a lot of executives don't want to hear what the problems are. And then they don't want to see them either. So the first thing we did is we got rid of this helmet. And we decided that we needed a new approach. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mitch Townsend, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Dirt Dogs Excavation General Contractors in Washington State. Unfortunately, I inherited a company that had a lot of organizational issues. Our profitability was slipping. Our organizational communication, in my opinion, was excellent. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So we were under extreme economic pressure to reorganize or face marginalization. So what we decided to do in conjunction with this program is to develop an action and research-based strategy to try to superimpose it upon this organizational restructure. That's part of the reason I'm in this program, is to develop new techniques of how to look at problems organizationally. Another problem that we found, that I found, is called lenses of perspective. Many times in organizations, we tend to look through a series of prisms that unfortunately, like the leadership helmet, or lack of leadership helmet, cloud our ability to look at possibilities of how to address these types of situations. So what I did, in conjunction with another program, another master's program, an organizational leadership master's program that I've been attending, I decided to use a combination of educational technology and OMET program techniques with the organizational leadership techniques to devise a strategy to turn this company around. We began with, obviously, in order to find the problem, you have to diagnose the problem. Edward Hodnett, a great American poet, I'm not sure if too many of you know who he is, but he was a 19th century poet, said, asking questions is the ABCs. The ABC, real basic, of inquiring, only the inquiring mind solve problems. Okay, so the first thing we did, obviously, is the literature review. We read a prodigious amount of books on every possible topic you can think of, from organizational development to organizational behavior to leadership structure. The literature itself suggested a number of different issues. The main issue was businesses are so diverse and they have so many different operational characteristics that one size does not fit all. One leadership strategy, one leadership style does not work in every situation. So we had to devise a combination of issues in order to address this dysfunction at the organizational level. So we started out what was called a diagnostic procedure called organizational reframing. And that is an employer-based or a CEO-based observational assessment. So what I did is I went out and took a look at our operations, conducted some generally informal interviews, talked to our customer base and said, hey, what's the problem? I wrote up a report and I submitted it to my learning circle and they said, wait a minute, Mitch, this is only your perspective. We need some independent information here. So I went back with a second diagnostic procedure called the communication audit. And what that is, it's a series of interviews, observations, it's an ethnographic method, as well as a survey. So I established a baseline of communications in action step number 1, which told us that we need to, first of all, diagnose the problem. We did that by using my impressions of the organizational reframing, the communication audit impressions of the employee-based responses, and it was amazing. I wasn't looking at the situation like I was supposed to. I had been using the helmet of leadership, and it wasn't working as well. And this superimposition of these two organizational techniques allowed me to see, for the first time, what I was doing wrong, and how I was being more of a dictatorial type CEO rather than somebody who was collaborative and someone who wanted to work in a constructivist type of philosophy. So we devised, with employee input, our first initiative, which was step number 2, a small team leadership communication initiative. So my first major step was, how do I, Mitch Townsend, CEO of Dirt Dogs Excavation Contractors, how do I support or improve my leadership communication. We did our assessment and we came to the conclusion that we needed to empower our employees. So we did an initiative called a small team leadership communication initiative. And what we did is we had a vote. We did democracy. And we voted in, I stood back and observed, first thing. We had an employee vote and they nominated leaders in different sections. I got all those people together and I said, hey, we're going to do things a little differently now. You tell me, go back into your section, you tell me what you need, and let's begin with open lines of communication. Okay? So we went back and we probably spent about 3 to 6 weeks on this initial step because we wanted to make sure it was getting some traction. We wanted to make sure the newness had worn off and we were actually starting to develop some kind of stability so we could build off of that. And communication was the key because without that, the leadership message which was embedded in the communication was not going to resonate with the employees. It would go in one ear and out the other. Oh great, another new directive from Mitch, okay? And we didn't want that this time because this company was on the line. So what we did was, we went and we did the leadership initiative. We let it gain traction for a while. I asked them of our customer base, which is in corporate, exactly, that's the bottom line. You know, it's more than just your profit and loss margin. It's projecting into the future. Are your customers happy? If they're not, why? And if they aren't, you better start addressing those issues or you're not going to have any customers. And that's what was happening. Okay, so I went out and I discussed this with these people and I said, hey, what are we going to do to solve this problem? So, we developed a communication structure, okay, small team leadership initiative. Now, because we're an excavation corporation, our technology was pretty limited. This is a blue-collar operation. They're not real tech savvy. So I said to myself, you know, how can I support this initiative, these small teams, with technology? Because that is the other aspect of my Double Master's program, which is EdTech and technology. How can we use technology to support corporate learning and reorganization successfully? So instead of saying, okay, we're going to do the wiki, we're going to do Skype, we're going to do web conferencing, what I said is, I want you to go back to your sections and do a technology assessment. I want to know what information you're using. I want to know how you're using it, how you're disseminating it. They came back with 3 section reports. We needed help. There was a lot of areas from training to maintenance to product knowledge to contract ordering and federal and local state compliance that we needed to have access to, in which we didn't. We had a big board and every day somebody would come through each section and write out what they needed for the day. Very inefficient. We instituted a new step number 2 was a laptops for leadership initiative. Okay? We wanted to develop a technological solution to support these people. Okay? It worked. Okay? We haven't implemented it, but we've done the assessment. We're looking at the tools that we can utilize and we can segue in to meet those needs. Okay? Obviously our first step is a website, a comprehensive website that we can concentrate all of our information on and then we can access it to telecommunications or conferencing. Real time in the field. The second part of our third process step was an assessment. Remember we had established a baseline of communication. I wanted to measure any improvements. So we did another survey instrument as part of our ethnographic method. And the wonderful part about it was we made significant progress in every area of measurement. Now the question is this a new program and everybody's just excited? Okay, so I let this last step go on for 2 months. Alright? And we started to see a little drop-off in enthusiasm, okay? But then we started getting exciting again, and we started rolling and made progress. That is our 4th action step plan, okay? So what we have is a continuous cycle from diagnosis and assessment to the creation of small teams with supporting technology, okay? And we have a 4th plan, which is to implement that technology. So in conclusion, I would like to point out a number of very important points. First of all, we used a micro and macro level approach. In order to change the organizational behavior, we had to change our personal behavior. And it started at the top. I need to be more inclusive, more constructivist-based in educational technology implementation. So we could create together, we could create the atmosphere that we needed to solve these issues. We're well on our way. Dirt Dogs is now able and has put in a perpetual action research plan with a series of cycles that will enable us as a company and as individuals to meet all of our challenges.